Welcome back to my channel. I have my handy dandy notebook here that makes me feel like Steve from Blue's Clues. Please ignore my hair. I brushed it out to kind of get rid of knots, and I just didn't do anything to fix it. So it's just like this. I don't even like it when people say, please ignore my hair, or I know I look crazy. I look fine. Anyway, today's video is called My Journey of Learning to Set Boundaries. And I'm really excited about this one because I can dive deep into this. I have no notes. I just have my topic here, but I wish maybe I should have written notes. I don't want to say that I'm getting sick, but you know that sticky feeling your throat gets right before you get sick? It's okay. I can fight this. Tomorrow I'm going to wake up and I'm going to be perfect. Anyway, my journey of learning to set boundaries, and this is going to be really, really deep because this has been hard and I feel like I'm still learning this low-key. There's different aspects to this. There's setting boundaries, and then there's vocalizing your boundaries, and then there's acting when someone crosses your boundaries. There's so many steps to this, but for me, I think the hardest part was kind of vocalizing. That was the hardest part because it feels so unfair and disgenuine and kind of really mean-spirited. But the truth is, the word unfair is correct. It's so unfair to walk away from someone or to resent someone because they crossed boundaries they didn't know existed. So that whole thing plagues my mind. And however, there is a type of person that exists, and quite popular actually, who understands that you have boundaries, unspoken or not. And because we're people, we all have boundaries. We all have things where we're whoa. And instead of leaving space, some people, I really want to dive into this because I can write a whole book about people who, intentionally cross boundaries. All it takes is for you to say, oh, I hope that's not too much, or to just ask questions if the person isn't vocalizing their boundaries. And I understand it's all of our responsibilities to vocalize boundaries, but we're on this earth. We are on this planet as people. Not everyone is at that level yet. Some people are working on those types of things, and we don't have to make up for what other people are working on. I'm just saying, we're all humans. We're all trying to work here. And if you understand that there are people that exist who have trouble vocalizing their boundaries, then why wouldn't you just, leave space for that, make room for that, and not take advantage of that? Because sometimes I see it happening. I'm this makes me uncomfortable, but you're still, because I have not said anything, you're still pushing. You're still making this, a fine thing. This is all right, this is all okay, but it's not. So I hope you know that it's because of this that I'm retreating quietly into myself. So yes, I'm also very lucky because I feel like I'm very good at scoping those types of situations out and not being involved in them. But it happens. And one feeling that I absolutely despise is finding myself in a situation where I'm surrounded by people who are either older, more experienced than me, or cooler than me, or whatever the heck the case is, where I'm at their will, basically, and they make it so I'm uncomfortable. Can't stand that. And I think that's why I work so hard when I see somebody who's either anxious or maybe just can't vocalize their boundaries, where I feel like I need to ask them more questions, make things more comfortable for them. That doesn't mean I have to rearrange my schedule or completely change my whole day or change myself. It's just being considerate. That's it. Oh my God. Anyway, as you can see, I'm passionate about this. Boundaries. My journey to setting them and learning them. So as a recovering people pleaser, I think, truly, I don't think people pleasing is bad. Side note, I don't think people pleasing is bad necessarily. It sounds really bad, but I think there needs to be reasons why you do it. If I'm trying to please a kid, that's people pleasing, But why are you trying to please a kid? Oh, to make them stop crying, or to make them happy, or to give them a good birthday, whatever the heck. Let them have a good time away from their screaming parents. That's been a situation. So I don't know. I think people pleasing has its place. It should exist, and it does. So what I was doing though was overkill. So let's hear about the journey. Okay. What an intro that was. I put Mexican lo-fi. Isn't it great? Anyway, my journey. Okay, yes. People pleasing. Now, we can go really far back into like why I have such strong people pleasing tendencies. And it goes back all the way to childhood, but I'm just gonna start with me being a people pleaser and allowing certain things to happen. I will say, looking back, I am very proud of myself for understanding who I am and understanding my morals. And yeah, I can try to please you and bend and, for all these situations. But at the end of the day, if it compromises my beliefs and my morals, my ethics, then I'm not gonna do it. And although I'm torn to not be able to cater to you and give you everything, that's something that I just won't do. And the problem with that is, I'll give you an example, a really small, silly example. Back in high school, I remember a friend of mine, a really, really good friend of mine, who I would do anything for, who I felt because we didn't have a lot of classes together that we were drifting apart. And, that's natural. But I was really scared to lose this friend because I really adored them. And they asked me to lie to the teacher because they had forgotten their homework or something like that. And truthfully, it's very silly because this is just little high school stuff that homework probably didn't, in the grand scheme of life, does not mean a whole lot. But I just wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. And I'm like, dang, I would do anything. And I knew myself. I'm like, I'd do anything for this person. I would there's a lot. Like, I would stay up all night doing something for them. Like, I would stay up all night doing their homework for them. But to lie to the teacher, lying is just not what I'm going to do right now. And I knew that. And it surprised me that I was strong enough to, just say no. But I kind of look back and I think, Joe, you shouldn't have gotten to the point where someone felt that was something you could do because you're so willing to do everything else. And it's fine, really. But it's like, wouldn't your friend, your good friend, know that you wouldn't lie? Wouldn't your best friend know that you wouldn't do something like that? Like, there's no point in asking you because you have boundaries. The point is you never made them until now. And now that, the pen is about to drop or whatever the heck needs to get turned in, they're discovering that you suddenly have boundaries. And I thought that was really silly and unfair and that I had to get better at communicating these things. I especially got much, much better at just kind of unraveling my people pleasing and understanding my boundaries as the older I got, which makes sense. But yeah, as a kid, I was just so desperate to please that there really wasn't much I wouldn't do. But again, I'm proud of myself for I think I cared more for as a child, it must have been I'm afraid of not getting into heaven or something, because that's how drastic it must have been for me not to do certain things for moral reasons, or for getting in trouble reasons. I'm not about to get this whooping because you guys want to play around. I'll do a lot, but I'm not about to get in trouble. That's not me. And I'd still wound up getting in trouble for things. But the older I got, the more I was understanding this about myself. One thing that's very small and that I would often have trouble with, that my younger cousin is so good at, just physically saying no, was such a task, especially with especially when I was given options. If someone would give me the option of oh, could you do this? You don't have to though. We could do something else. Just let me know when I should stop, or when this is uncomfortable for you, or this is too much. Just say it. I'd be like, no, it's fine. Even when in the whole time in my head, I was like, oh my gosh, I really just need a way out. I just really need a way out. I need to go home right now. I need to do whatever. But people would give me a way out and I would still say no. That's I would still not say no. That's crazy. And I think it was the people pleasing for sure. But as I got older, saying no was so hard. It was so hard. And I remember I would babysit my younger cousin a lot, or my cousin's cousin. And she would always tell me whenever you want to go home, text me and I'll come right home, because she would go out or she would do whatever and I'd be babysitting. And I just couldn't bring myself to do it, even if I was so tired, and even if all I wanted to do was go home because I had to wake up early or whatever the heck. Like, it always had to be some sort of like elaborate excuse for me to feel like I was worthy of telling her no, or telling her please come home, or cutting her plans short, because I felt bad, because I felt like I could hold out, or because I was people pleasing, like, well, honestly. And it was never beneficial to me, but I'm like, I'm not here to be beneficial to me. I'm here to be beneficial because I'm here to do a job, blah, blah, blah. I would do that with bosses, when bosses would ask me for stuff, and staying later or doing, I like always had to have an excuse. It couldn't just be, I don't want to do it. I always had to have some sort of excuse, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, when somebody tells you, like, I don't believe people when they say, it's not going to bother me, it's not going to offend me, like, just tell me. I'm not going to tell you, because people have thoughts and people are complex, and even saying something like that is people pleasing at the end of the day. But when it's done in like a professional setting too, I feel like, sorry, I got a message. When it's done in a professional setting too, like I still feel like, even though my boss would be like, it's okay, you don't have to do this, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, there is like an invisible brownie point score list, and it's not that I'm trying to like outdo other people or blah, 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 because I don't really care about that. It's really about like catering to my boss. And like, I was always afraid. Like, I have to ask myself, like, are you afraid of being fired? Are you afraid of, like, you know? Because, like, I could just say no and do the bare minimum and coast. And it wasn't about doing the bare minimum. It, like, when I started working more and bosses would ask me to do stuff that was, like, outside of my job description, I would always do it, because I'm like, that's what I'm here to do. Like, it doesn't bother me, blah, blah, blah. And, like, I could say no, but, like, and like spend my personal time doing my own personal things, but like there was nothing pressing, and I'm like, why would I say no? I can stay. So it was really a battle, an interior battle with like society and the world. So there's a couple things that happened as I grew older. I also really shocked myself. I was thinking about this today. I was watching Erica Titus's YouTube video, and Kirsten Titus's, I think that's how you say their names, YouTube videos. Well, I watch both of their YouTube videos because, yeah. And they're talking a lot about like family, relationships, all these things. And I just remember thinking about something Erica said that really struck me. Was like, she said she was afraid of the type of person she would be when she's like heartbroken or in love, or like all these things. Like, she's afraid of that person. Like, she can tell that whoever that person is, because I guess like she hadn't been through that yet. Whoever that person is, she's afraid of, because she doesn't know what she'll do, how she'll act, like how drastic it'll be, like blah, blah. And I remember being really afraid of myself, because I was so bad at boundaries, and I was so bad at like saying no and all these things. I'm like, oh my God, when I'm like in love, or like, you know how like people get like love blind and they can't tell like when right is left and left is whatever. And you know, and they start acting like idiots, because it's like, you know, I was so afraid of myself. I was like, if I ever let myself fall for someone, I'm gonna act like an idiot and make the worst choices and cater to this person completely. And honestly, that's not entirely untrue. I have found that within my family and friendships, if I deeply love and care for someone, I'm willing to give everything. I'm willing to give my whole time, energy, money, bank account. I really am, and it's so bad. And I'm just like, I think that's why boundaries are actually so important for a person like me, because I know how all in I can be. However, when I was 20, 21, I discovered how strong I am as a person, and how I can set boundaries, and that it can be okay, and it can be scary. But there were certain things that happened where if I was talking to someone, or, you know, about to be, you know, a thing with someone or whatever the heck, I'd always make sure that they knew my boundaries, because that was important to me, because I was scared of the person I was going to be. I was like, well, Joe, if you don't know who you're going to be, if you're like blind, if you're like, then you need to set things up now. You need to protect yourself now, because past Joe will always look out for future Joe. I love her. She will always look out for me. And I was just like, let me look out for future Joe and tell this person my boundaries now. And I think it was really just protecting my heart and protecting my brain, just protecting myself. And when I remember setting a really strong boundary with someone, and vocalizing it. And I felt like such a loser. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm such a loser. Like, like they probably never gonna, they're like, oh my God, this person is so much. Even though, like, I would never talk to someone who I felt like would treat me that way. So I don't know why I was thinking that anyway. But they responded after I gave all of these, like, not all of these things. It was just one thing. But I was just like, this is my boundary. Okay? And they were like, okay. And it wasn't K, but I'm glad that I did that. And when it wasn't K, when the boundaries started to get crossed, or when I started seeing things that I didn't like, despite really, you know, despite my whole track record of like fighting for my relationships and my friends and my family and like doing everything, laying down my shirts and like laying down like my life for other people, despite kind of like forgetting my own needs and my own desires and wants and just doing whatever anyone else wants just for them to be pleased with me, just for them to like me. Despite all that, despite that huge long history throughout school and everything, I walked away with no issue. I just remember being like shocked at how easy it was for me. And I think it's because when it comes to like matters of the heart, that really is entirely based on how much you like a person. It's not a family friend thing. I mean, yes, but it really is entirely based on how much you like a person. So I think my brain did this thing where it was like, because you're such a people pleaser and you're constantly fighting for people to like you all the time, the one person that you partner up with who's supposed to like you all the time, you need to like them more than anything. You need to make sure that this is the safest, most comfortable person. That's it. And my brain will not accept less than that. And, you know, it can be lonely, but I think it's worth it. And I think it's important that Past Joe did that for me, because I don't know where I'd be otherwise. But I think it was really important that I understood that about myself at that younger age. And I was like, oh, so, you know, I don't have to be afraid of myself. I know who I am, and nothing, despite everything, like, despite my past and my history, I can still set a boundary effectively. And not only can I set it, vocalize it, and then, like, I can also act on it. Like, I can stay true to my word. I was like, okay, cool. Like, you know, rid myself of it. And that was so amazing to, like, know about myself. And I was just like, wow. And that was that. And that's when I knew that, like, I still struggled with boundaries with families for a long time after that. Don't get me wrong. I wasn't like, oh my God, like, I'll never have problems with boundaries ever again. But I just knew when it comes to, like, the really important stuff, I was good. And it's always those little things where I may, like, be more comfortable something else, or this thing, or somebody asks my opinion, or somebody asks me what I want, where I will always cater to the other person, or I have always catered to the other person. Or when someone wants to like there were things that happened in life where, hey, so-and-so wants to use your car. I'm not entirely, you know, comfortable with that. But I would say yes anyway. Or so-and-so wants to borrow this that's yours, or so-and-so wants to do that, or whatever the case is, you know. Or could you go pick up these strangers? Like, boundaries. No. And I have to be okay with saying no. I have to be okay with other people not finding me useful. That happens in family a lot. I remember seeing it a lot with my sister, because my sister, once she started driving, everybody started using her for everything. But one thing they would make her do a lot is go pick up other relatives who, like, if there was a family barbecue or family function or an event or whatever the heck, and a family member wasn't done getting ready yet, but the others were ready to go, they would leave them. And then they would ask my sister, when that person was ready, and like half an hour later, to go get them. And I thought that was crazy. I'm like, no, they can sit home. Especially since my sister, usually those were the family members who my sister and us, like, just weren't close to. So it's like, you asking a lot, because one, you could have waited for them, and then you could put that pressure on them to like be ready on time. Like that sounds like their problem. That sounds like they made a mistake. It sounds like they didn't plan properly, because this happened constantly. It wasn't like a one-time thing. Okay, but no, this was constant. Or they just wanted to get picked up earlier, or someone wanted to go home earlier, or they left something, or like go get this from the grocery store, so we're taking 2-3 trips. It's like, just said that with family. I was just like, you ain't gonna do that to me. Joe is Miss Unreliable. In fact, Joe's late to the function. Joe's not here yet. Where's Joe? Hiding. Like, Joe's not here. You can't ask her anything. Joe doesn't even speak Spanish. That's a good one. I do speak Spanish. But yeah, I just made myself kind of like set that boundary with my choices versus like me being readily available. Because like I said, you can set a boundary without vocalizing it, and people will just get it. You know, the people that get it, and I appreciate those types of people, despite my aunts and my uncles being like super not annoying. That's rude. I do have uncles who just don't get it, because that might be a man thing. Like, you don't get this? Like, come on. Setting a boundary. You know, if you gotta block family members, block family members. If you gotta like block friends, or, you know, ex-friends, whatever the heck. Do what you have to do, because I think our actions speak a lot as well. Because I'm a big believer in, you don't have to like, everybody else needs to tune in and be emotionally intelligent enough to understand that when you put your hand on someone's shoulder and they do this, they don't want your hand on their shoulder, so don't do it again. You know what I mean? Boundaries. Me and my cousin, we drove to North Carolina together, and I hadn't seen her in many, many years. And we spoke about boundaries like the whole time, because she had also had issues with boundaries, where she would also cater to other people a lot and kind of like serve other people a lot, because she felt like that was the right thing to do. And bless her heart, she did. But she taught me so much about like, you know, just being able to feel worth it, or feel like you can say no just because you want to, not because you have a million excuses, or because of, you know, for what's best for you. Like, you're so tuned into what's best for everybody. What's best for you? Ask you what's best for you. And, you know, and it becomes this problem where I'm like, what's best for me? Honestly, I'm good right now, and I could, you know, it would be fine if people overstepped. Another friend of mine who really was so good at respecting boundaries, like finding the people that respect boundaries is great. A friend of mine who was so good at respecting boundaries would ask me so many questions, because one, I was a girl and I'm a girl and they're a boy, so there was, you know, questions to ask to make sure that like whatever the heck, if we shared something, or, you know, even if it came down to food or like items, whatever the heck, or time, always ask me to like clarify, make sure that they weren't crossing any boundaries. Wouldn't just barge in, or wouldn't just pick up my phone and look for something. Always asked, and always was like not about to look through my, you know, phone history or anything like that. Even though I don't care, they still were like, that's a boundary. No, that's nothing to do with me. Like, they wouldn't even, like, if they went on the internet, they would be like, here, you do it, so that I don't have to see anything, even though there's nothing there to see. But it taught me so much about like what boundaries I should be like requiring of people, and how much more I'm worthy of it as a person. I remember they were making food, and they what was it? Was it soup? I'm not sure what it was, but they went over to look at the like pouches of that to make the food. I don't know what it was, but the point is, the majority of it was broth. Majority of the broths had meat in them, which is crazy because they're broths, but yeah, they had meat in them. And they asked me, like, knowing I'm a vegetarian, because I didn't really think much about it, to be honest. They were like, is this okay that you have soup that has broth with meat in it, or broth that like maybe touched meat or whatever the heck? And I was like, no. Like, I really was hesitant because I hadn't thought about this before. Like, this This wasn't a question I'd been asked before. But once I hesitated, like I was about to say, no, it's fine, you know, so they can make the soup, like whatever they want, it's fine. But then because I hesitated, they were like, nope, that's a boundary. And they put the broth back. And I just remember being like, oh, wow, huh. So I have boundaries. And I think that's proof that I'm human, or that I'm a human in society, that I'm a human girl, that I'm a human with like things. And it made me super, like, because there's pros and cons, there's balance in life. It made me super conscious of other people's boundaries that I may not know of. Like, some people don't like it when you touch their bags or their things. Some people don't like it when you touch their car. Some people don't like it when you just like slam their car door. Some people don't like it when you use nicknames for them. Or it's not even about liking. It's like, I don't want to cross a boundary. So like, I'm not going to call my boss by their first name if I haven't been instructed to. You know, like just like respectful things and boundaries, they can overlap. And I don't want to do too much there. Like, if somebody has a boundary in their life and it's important to them, then I want to know what it is, just so that I don't cross it. Not that I think I would, but I don't know. Accidents happen. It really depends on what it is. I don't know. But just being respectful of other people and understanding that as much as other people have boundaries and I'm really trying to cater to all of them, I have them too, because I'm a person. And yeah, so I think I'm trying to figure out what it's like. I think another boundary I might have is like people asking me personal questions about like marriage and babies. It's like, that's a boundary. Stop. Like, you're not my sister, you know? There's privileges that come with being like super, super close to a person, but even so, boundaries. So, yes. Wow, this is probably like one of the longest videos I've made, and I wanted to post this tonight, so hopefully I will. But that's everything for now. Hopefully this was helpful. I don't know.